Big Z Reviews. Miss Marvel is the newest Disney Plus Marvel streaming show that just finished its first season, or I might only season, whatever, recently. And I really loved it. It's a shame that I feel like Disney was scared about it. They weren't sure about it because they put it on, the first 3 episodes were like right at the same time as Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I feel like it really got lost amongst the midst of that. I'm not sure why they did that because they don't have anything else going on right now. They could have pushed it back 3 weeks, and I feel like it would have been a lot more popular than it's been.
I spend too much time in Fantasyland.
That is not you.
It's not really the brown girls from Jersey City who save the world. That's a fantasy too.
So as a backstory, I started collecting comics again right around this run where Kamala was born. The Miss Marvel was the first issue. That's right around where I began collecting again. It's actually that I know there wasn't, it was right around then that I'd started reading Saga, which is one of the best comics ever written. But it was the first 2 volumes were out with Saga, and then I wanted to read them at issue by issue. So I started going to my local comic shop, and I was checking out all the other stuff that was coming out right then. And this was one of the ones that got me hooked again. And because it was in the comics, Miss Marvel is an Inhuman, and essentially that one, there's a big worldwide event where the Inhumans, Black Bolt, he released all of their Terrigen mist across all the world, this giant cloud that spread across the world, and anyone that had any Inhuman blood all of a sudden was formed into a cocoon, and most of them died. But then the couple that were actually born were born with Inhuman and with new powers. Essentially, this was how they brought in a bunch of new heroes into the Marvel Comics. And it's so interesting because at that time, Fox owned the mutants. And it's so interesting because they did stuff where they're killing off mutants, and they weren't making any new mutants, because the second that Marvel Comics made a new mutant hero, that hero belonged to Fox. So it's when you have Disney and Marvel film studios, they're trying to tell them, hey, stop making new mutants. Oh, how are we gonna make a new world event to create a bunch of new heroes? Well, we don't do much with the Inhumans. Let's do Inhumans. Of course, the Inhumans in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they did a show, and it was very bad. And I feel like everyone's just kind of said that they don't exist anymore. So it's really interesting because I hate to spoil it. It doesn't really matter. Slight spoiler, but it really isn't. Skip 30 seconds if you don't want to hear about it. But in the very end of Miss Marvel show, they reveal that there's some sort of mutation in your genome, and it's dun dun dun, and it's oh, she's the first mutant, and I was oh yeah, it's so interesting because she in the comics she's an Inhuman because they didn't own the mutants, but now they own the mutants. And the Inhumans suck, so she's now a mutant. I find that so interesting. But for the actual show, they really take a lot of inspiration from the comics. I love that in the comics they have the Kamala Khan, her family are really loving and really interesting, and there's a lot of it's the first I've been kind of exposed to a lot of what a normal Pakistani Muslim family would be like in America. It was really well crafted, and they continued that maybe even stronger because all the characters are so perfect. Iman Vellani, she is a star as Kamala Khan. I really feel like they have like a new Spider-Man on their hands. They have the New Jersey Spider-Man on their hands in this in Iman Vellani, and I just hope that like they don't derail it, because she's perfect. And they have Muniba Khan as Zenobia Shroff as her mom, and she's amazing. But then Yusuf Khan, played by Mohan Kapoor, he is perfect. And there's a moment like early on when like they're gonna take him to the Comic Con or whatever, and he's dressed as Hulk, and like when she breaks his heart by saying like she doesn't like the costume, and I painted all his face green, and he's just like. Like, it's so sad, but so well done. And her brother is played by Amir is played by Sagar Shaikh, and he's really good too. And they also have like a whole group. The comics, they have a whole friend group for Kamala, and they do all really well. They have Bruno played by Matt Lintz, and Nakia played by Yasmin Fletcher, and I think Kamran. I don't think Kamran was in the comic. I think that's all stuff because they can't do Inhumans. And honestly, the weakest parts of the show are the villains. Like, they have two main villains they have are the Jinn and then the Damage Control. And the Jinn, is the whole thing is that they have to do something where she gets the superpowers from. So, like, they're from, like, another dimension. But it's kind of interesting how they do it, because they bring in, like, the lore from, like, the Indian, Pakistani lore of the Jinn. So it's an interesting way to do it, but the actual characters, I think it helps when they have like some sort of base that they can play off of. Because like, what are these characters' powers? Like all the Jinn that they're fighting, like I guess they can create a weapon, and like the weapons are cool. Like they're from like Indian and Pakistani history. But it feels like, what are their powers? Are they just like humans, but they can create a weapon? And then like it's just odd. Like it's not very well thought out. But like at anytime there's stuff going on with them, I'm just like, just get back to the family stuff. It's like the family stuff is so well done, and I really like when I saw the trailers for what they do to her powers, I'm like, But then when I watched it, it's really well done, because I think, the CGI, I think to make it look good, like the original Powers, I think would be more tough. But by making it so colorful and fake looking, it works really well, and it's probably cheaper to do the graphics like that. In the comics, Kamala's powers are that like she can grow her body or shrink her body to like any size, and she also has like really fast healing. And like she can make her and when she first turns, like she becomes like she does something heroic, and she creates her own like Miss Marvel suit, like as her own skin, like because like she's a huge fan of the Avengers and Captain Marvel, and they actually bring that together in it. But like I like how they do that. But in this, like she goes to the Comic Con and she's wearing like a Captain Marvel suit, and she gets a bangle, which is like it unlocks her powers. And that's fine, but like the actual powers, I really like what they do with them. She has the way she can jump from platform to platform. It kind of gives her a city ranging ability like Spider-Man, because like in the comics, like she can go and run around the city. So this kind of makes it. I honestly, by the end of it, I really like what they did with her powers. But like it's interesting too. That like there's a little bit of a time travel aspect, and it's really cool that they're going through the whole partition, in between Pakistan and India. Although they even, if you want to read up on it, they downplayed how horrific it was. Like I didn't know at all about it until I took an Asian history class in college, and that one part of the section we talked about was the partition, and where like massacres between Hindu and Muslim Indians, like after World War II, like the massacres that happened, like back and forth on both sides, and how like the trains, like most of the Muslims went up north and formed Pakistan, and that like how like the trains, some of them, they were stopped, and the Hindu Indians like massacre the entire trains of people. Like there's some horrific shit if you read up on it. But like that, there's like the backstory of that is crazy. And they actually when they go to Pakistan, it's really interesting. One thing, the problem is that because it's like only 6 episode show, like when Kamala goes to Pakistan with her mom, and that's like that happens in the comics, and they introduce because they have the red daggers, they do all that stuff in the comics, but I feel like it kind of screws up the feel of the show because I feel like, I mean, it's really interesting. I like what they do, but I feel like you're missing all the stuff that's going on in Jersey, you know. But I know they have to do that. They use that for the backstory, and they do some time travel stuff, like showing the partition. But like, it's cool that it kind of works because her powers in the comics are that she's kind of a time traveler. Just because that, like, they actually explain the science really well. I think they have, like, the Bruno character is, like, a mad scientist. Like, he's a genius. And though he creates her suit in the comic. The mom creates the suit in this, and that's a really nice moment. But like, in the suit, like, because she has to stretch, like, it creates, like, a stretchy suit for her. And so she doesn't have to think about it, create her own suit. And, but, like, he kind of explains it that you know, the first law of thermodynamics, you can't create or destroy matter or energy or mass. It can only be moved. It can only be transferred. So that, like, how is her powers working if she gets so big or so small? Like, how is that working? And it's really interesting. They did that like, essentially anytime she gets bigger, she's borrowing her mass from her future self, or from herself. Whenever she got really small, she moved that mass later. Like, that's when she goes small, that's how she's also able to go big later. Like, I really like how they explain how her powers worked. So it kind of works too, but if she can time travel a little bit with the bangle and with her Nor powers or whatever they are. So, I mean, it's really kind of just great. And I think it's just that the Jinn, like, bad guys are the weakest part of the story, but like everything else about it is amazing, and I loved it. I hope people really check it out because it's really interesting, and Iman Vellani is amazing, and I hope that they do more with her. Like, I really would recommend watching it. Probably give like a 9 out of 10. But thanks for watching. If you want to see more of me, you can subscribe down below. Thanks.